Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. So, in today's Horn of Africa report, it would appear that the government of Ethiopia, led by Abiy Ahmed and the so-called Prosperity Party, um, appear to be taking a anti-American, anti-West stance. They appear to be taking cues from the despotic regime inside of Eritrea, who appears to be gravitating towards a more Russian and Chinese centric approach to foreign states who will help and assist these two regimes. So both the regime in Eritrea and the regime, we should just call it a regime inside of Ethiopia, appears to be taking a definite, hard military approach to the domestic situation inside of its country, and specifically, obviously, towards the Tigray region, where you have Ethiopia that has invited in foreign actors in the form of the despotic regime of Eritrea, while at the same time they continue to persecute the Oromia region of Ethiopia in the form of the persecution of Oromo political parties and opposition parties that do not agree with the strong federalized stance of the Prosperity Party under Abiy Ahmed, which would fundamentally make Ethiopia. Well, I guess they could be the same as the body politic uh, seems to be gravitating towards each other in terms of how they operate outside of democratic norms. But again, a more federalist power stance with the democratic process slowly fading away. And these activities, including the operations against the Tigray region, the operations that are taking place in other parts of Ethiopia, have led to Western sanctions against Ethiopia. Because the Western governments, the United States, does not see this as something that can sustain itself. Given the makeup of Ethiopia and the different ethnic groups, you cannot possibly place all the power into which would be more or less an Amharic centric city state located in Addis Ababa. And I have mentioned this before. I think if you live in Addis Ababa, your experience is much different than living elsewhere inside of Ethiopia, and that's going to be a very serious problem for Ethiopia. But again, back to the Ethiopian government sponsoring demonstrations throughout Ethiopia, or attempting to uh, orchestrate demonstrations against the West inside of Ethiopia. Specifically, we've seen stadium-sized demonstrations against the United States, the destruction of American flags inside of Addis Ababa, and stadiums inside of Addis Ababa. But again, this would appear to be this gravitational push towards new allies that are going to help with this new political process, which will be a despotic process, which will be a non-democratic process inside of Ethiopia itself, and that should concern everybody living inside of Ethiopia. What is that going to do for the region, the Tigray region? Well, that is going to bring more attention uh, by the West towards the plight of the Tigray region. It may also assist in clandestine operations with the United States, operating with partners in Egypt, and quite possibly new partners inside of Sudan that would look to help and assist the Tigrayan Defense Forces against these despotic forces who are operating outside normal rules of of governing the internals of one's country. And many of the issues that we're seeing that have created the regime in Eritrea, many of these processes, as I've talked about before, are starting to raise their ugly head inside of Ethiopia. You can physically see that many of the tactics and processes of Abiy Ahmed are the same tactics and processes used by Isaias Afwerki inside of Eritrea. And again, that should be a major, major concern if you are Ethiopian of any ethnic group. This is simply a power play by Isaias Afwerki and Abiy Ahmed to obtain power and control inside of Ethiopia, Eritrea, for an indefinite period of time. This is the goal that these two men seek to impose upon these two states, Eritrea and Ethiopia. But again, now you're starting to see the breakdown in terms of the alliance, the assistance that once was given to Ethiopia by the United States. And that consisted of a wide range of assets to include clandestine support. I also believe that the initial support that was utilized to help decapitate the Tigrayan Defense Forces, the Tigrayan Regional Forces, were initially assisted by the United Arab Emirates in the form of its drone operations that were deployed against targets inside of the Tigray region. Well, these assets, as the United Arab Emirates gets much of its military capability and assistance from the United States, um, that should disappear. I do believe we have not seen the type of drone activity over the Tigray region as we did in the first month of the conflict. And I think that was the United States waking up and saying, hey, we have a major issue here, especially with the despotic regime of Eritrea intervening in this conflict. And I believe the United States told its UAE partners, hey, stand down, get your drones out of the airspace of the Tigray region, and we need to have a closer look at what's going on, because clearly something foul is afoot. And indeed, something foul was afoot. And that is now being addressed. Unfortunately, we're still seeing a human tragedy that is taking place inside of the Tigray region. I suspect we will also see a human tragedy take place in the Oromia regions as well. And again, I think you're seeing this triple alliance of certain power base inside of Addis Ababa, the Amhara region, and the despotic regime of Eritrea, again trying to take hold of power inside of the Horn of Africa. And that spells significant trouble in the weeks, months, and even years ahead. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.